While exploring just south of the faded Pomp Estates, we see big concrete ruins and a super mutant milling about. Upon inching closer, we discover Roosevelt Academy. Moving forward to loot the corpse, we find another mutant walking around a courtyard just down these steps. Peering off to the southeast, we find the last exterior super mutant. Creeping to the edge of this wall, we see 3 ruined buildings. But where to begin? Heading down the stairs to the courtyard, we can loot the super mutant we killed earlier. Turning east on this level, we find a door to Roosevelt Library, but it's locked with a very hard lock. Before choosing which building to explore, I want to know what each one is called, so heading around and behind the library, we see a ruined tipped-over streamliner bus, and we find a couple of trash bins. We can loot the corpse of the mutant we killed patrolling the road, and then head back to explore the next building. This is the building that was directly east of us when we found the Roosevelt Academy. We find a door just out front, door to Roosevelt Arts and Athletics Hall. This one's not locked, we could just creep on in, but heading on over to the third building to the west, we learn that this one is called the Roosevelt Academy. I think I want to start my adventure by exploring the Academy proper. Continuing to explore the exterior, we can turn west. Here we find a baseball diamond. Nature has reclaimed most of it, but we still find the bases here. At least I found the home base and first base, and we see piles of rubble all over the field. Moving southeast back towards the buildings, we find what looks like a rail car of some sort, and turning around, we find another door leading to Roosevelt Academy. Okay, so this place has 2 doors. We'll go ahead and enter this one. We enter and find ourselves in a dark hallway. Creeping forward. Oh, a body just fell from the ceiling. Looks like we're not alone. We see a door to the right. This is the door to administration. Opening the door, we find ourselves in a dark office space. We see cubicles, desks, and a super mutant.
Found you!
This guy was hiding in the adjacent room. Heading inside, we find what must have been the principal's office. On his desk, we find a pre-war book and a terminal, the headmaster's terminal. It's locked with a very easy lock. Upon hacking it, we read, "Welcome, Headmaster Sweeney." We find one option, activate Protectron unit. Upon doing so, we find a message at the very bottom. Sending query, unit name, Dean Dewey. .robco. I don't remember passing a Protectron. It must be out in the hallway we passed earlier. So heading out of the dean's office and through the cubicles, we can open the northern door to find the Protectron.
No students in hall without pass. Visitors must sign in at administration.
We find quite a few options. We can say, yeah, I'll give you a hall pass, Chrome Dome.
Intruder on campus. Students remain in your classrooms. Commencing lawful.
But that's hardly productive. Alternatively, if we have the robotics expert perk, we can say maintenance code RHX1W38. Override authorization, challenge protocol.
Override granted. User access allowed.
In which case he just walks off. Or if we have exceptionally low intelligence, we find an option to say, ooh, shiny robot.
Special needs students must be chaperoned at all times. Allow me to escort you back to class, child.
In which case he just walks off. Or if we have the child at heart perk, we can say, gee, Mr. Robot, I forgot my hall pass.
10 demerits. Back to class with you, rapscallion.
Rapscallion. I think I like Mr. Dean Dewey. He again walks off, and he'll take care of some pesky critters for us.
Commencing lawful use of deadly force. Do not be alarmed.
Heading back into the headmaster's office, I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. We find some bottle caps in a shelving unit, but that's really about it. However, I heard that Dean Dewey was getting into some trouble, so racing back out into the hallway, we can try to save the guy.
Target identified. Operation is
We kill this mutant, but more begin tossing grenades from a hole in the ceiling.
please. Also those failures.
Oh no, Dean Dewey.
Pay for that. 2 hits, kid. 2 hits.
Oh well, the robot's dead. Let's head back to this hallway to continue exploring. The room northwest of Dean Dewey's charging dock is a bathroom, and on the ground we find a dead wastelander. We find cherry bombs in a wrecked toilet and a dead raider in another stall. Beneath his body is a copy of Pugilism Illustrated. Heading out and back to the lobby, we can loot the super mutant and poor old Dean Dewey. We see some double doors to the north. Looks like that heads deeper on. I want to go ahead and finish exploring this lobby first. So turning west and going down the hallway, we find the ladies' restroom, but inside we really don't find anything. Heading out and going southwest, we arrive at the school nurse's office. We see crutches and medical braces lying about. We find a stim pack on one table, some blood packs in the southwest corner, next to a first aid box on the wall. Turning east, we find the nurse's office, and on the desk is a copy of DC Journal of Internal Medicine. On the wall above this is a very easy locked first aid box, and heading east we find a hard-locked terminal, next to a hard-locked safe. If we hack the terminal, all we find is an option to unlock the safe. The safe just has a small stash of caps. Opening the double doors to the east, we find ourselves back in the lobby. Okay, so these were the doors to the nurse's area next to that hallway. We can loot the body of the dead settler that fell from the ceiling. And instead of going down the hallway on the bottom floor, let's head up these stairs first to explore this loft level. The hallway to the west is blocked in with rubble, but we find a hallway that goes deeper north into the building. Heading down, we find a door to the left, and inside...
I'm gonna fuck your shit up.
The room was filled with flammable gas, and our first attack ignited the whole room. And we've fallen down to the first floor. It looks like we'll be exploring this floor first anyway. Gosh, those overlords are tough. When he's dead, we can loot his corpse, and now we have to figure out exactly where we are. It looks like we're in a classroom. We see student desks amongst the rubble. Likely this is one of the classrooms lining the hallway with the double doors we opened from the lobby. Looking up to the floor we just fell from, we see a door to the east. We'll have to remember that. Heading south through a hole in the wall, we find ourselves in another classroom with a few containers to loot. Heading east into the hallway, we see the lobby to the south and some double doors to the north. There's a classroom in front of us to the east. Heading inside, we find piles and piles of ruined desks. In one, we find a pre-war book, so it's good to loot these. Heading back out, we can loot the lockers we missed to the south. Yep, and sure enough, this leads to the lobby. And when done, we can head north to loot these lockers lining the halls. We find another classroom to the east, and inside...
Are you fucking kidding me? I can't wait to see you bleed out.
This room connects to the next one through a big hole in the northern wall, and when done looting the desks, we can walk out the door to the west. Uh-oh.
That didn't even hurt.
We triggered a grenade trap. I didn't even see the tripwire. Oh, I see. The grenades were hiding in that tube. And there's the remains of the tripwire. Well, I'll have to be more careful next time. But while standing in this hallway, we seem to have inexplicably angered a nearby mutant. Where is he? Hello?
You fucking kidding me?
Not exactly sure how he saw us. But hey, at least he made our hunting a little easier. Heading into the bathrooms, we can turn left to explore the women's first. Here we find more cherry bombs and a destroyed toilet. This may be a reference to Keith Moon, the drummer for The Who's. He's infamous for playing practical jokes while in hotels, whereby he would put cherry bombs in the toilets, causing them to crumble. It's estimated that he's caused over $500,000 worth of damage to hotel toilets, causing him to be banned for life from the Holiday Inn, Sheraton, and Hilton hotels, including the Waldorf Astoria hotels. I think it's no coincidence why we only find these in broken toilets. Then heading to the gentleman's restroom, sure enough, more cherry bombs and a destroyed toilet. But no loot in the tanks, nothing else to find. Heading north, we see double doors before us, a hallway to the left and a hallway to the right. Checking out the double doors, we see that this leads back out to the Capitol Wasteland. This was the first door to the building that we found. Turning east, we see blood. Heading into a room with a broken door. Oh, we find rad roaches feasting on a settler corpse. How many Wastelanders have these super mutants killed? Heading out and rounding the corner to the north, we find a Nuka-Cola machine, but this is a dead end. So turning around and heading west, the first door on the right leads to some stairs. That's probably where we need to go. So instead we'll head west to loot a supply closet. Here we just find an assortment of scrap. But it was at this time that Jericho got himself into trouble.
My game's over!
Where'd you go, Jericho? Come on, man. Stick with me, all right? While we were running up, we saw another staircase leading down. This leads to a door to the maintenance and evacuation tunnel. Okay, something tells me we should explore that last. Heading back upstairs, we can loot the corpse of the super mutant we just killed, and finally get to exploring this second floor. Heading east, we see that the hallway goes south and east. There's also a rad roach on the ceiling here. We'll go east first, and we find that this just leads to another stairway going up. Well, I want to explore this floor first, so retracing our steps, we can instead go south. Heading left through the first door, we see that this was the classroom. Directly above the room with that tripwire trap, we see the tube that had the grenades going up to the third floor. Here we find an ammo box against the eastern wall. We can loot the super mutant we killed earlier, and that's really it for this room. We see a door to the west, but it looks like this leads back out to the hallway. Heading out and turning south, yeah, sure enough, the door leads to the hallway. Okay. Turning around, we can open the western door. Oh, and this was that closed door in the room we first explored when we fell down after igniting that gas. Back to the hallway, heading south and turning west. Sure enough, we find ourselves in the same room. We can loot the gore bags, where we find some ammo and caps. Heading out and turning south, we're back at that loft overlooking the lobby. Here we see a doorway to the east, leading to a hallway with a supply closet filled with ruined desks. This is a great opportunity to make use of the Scrounger perk, and this leads to another staircase heading up to the third floor. I bet this meets the other one we found, so heading on up, we could go west or north. Let's try north first.
I'll wear you down!
Goodness gracious. These overlords are intense, and I'm really starting to get tired of Jericho. He walks right in front of me while I'm wielding my metal blaster, and I'm always terrified I'm gonna kill him. Well, before we loot these guys, let's head back and explore this hallway. We find a single stall bathroom here, nothing inside, so heading back out, we find another hallway to the south. This leads to a classroom overlooking the lobby. This is that room from which the settler fell upon first entering. We see a door on the opposite side, but how to get over there? Squeezing around, we can loot the super mutants we killed while sniping at them from the bottom after they killed Dean Dewey. If we creep around, we can open this door, but it swings out and to the left, so we should probably approach it from the other side. But if we jump at just the right time, we can get across. On the other side, we find a staircase leading to a fourth floor. Creeping on up, we find ourselves in another room with a giant hole in the floor overlooking the lobby. And here was that final super mutant we killed from the lobby. At the end of this room, we find another door. Thankfully, it swings inward, and inside we're rewarded with 3 ammunition canisters, one of which is locked with an easy lock, 2 small metal boxes, and 1 average locked cabinet with a laser pistol inside. Winding our way back, we can creep carefully along these walls, making sure we don't fall all the way back down to the lobby, and then we can continue on our way by heading down the hallway and into the northern doorway. Now we can loot those 2 overlords whom attacked us earlier. No wonder we had to use so many stim packs. They were equipped with tri-beam laser rifles. Heading into the eastern door, looks like some sort of computer lab. We find 1 terminal. Ooh, but wait. This one is booby-trapped. We can disarm it for the experience and then go into the next room through a hole in the wall to the north. This must have been a small cafeteria or maybe a teacher's break room. We find refrigerators here, a first aid kit on the wall between 2 of them, and we can finally turn off Enclave radio. But there's not much else here. Heading back to the hallway, sure enough, we find a staircase that leads back down to the first floor on the other side of the administration building. And with that, we finish exploring it. We can either leave out the main door or head back to the staircase where we found that 1 staircase leading downstairs. And at the bottom, we can open the door to the maintenance and evacuation tunnel. We find ourselves in a dark hallway at the top of some stairs. Heading down, we see a lot of skeletons. But looking at them more closely, they look child-sized. We see baseball bats and basketballs, and they're all piled in 1 spot. This suggests that the teachers may have tried to evacuate the school after the bombs dropped, only for everyone to die in this tunnel. But then we remember that the bombs dropped on a Saturday, so I'm having a hard time explaining these skeletons. We can leap past a barrel to continue forward. Oh!
The best you got!
I totally missed that fragmentation bouquet.
Game's
I'm
over!
gonna fuck your shit up, kid! Don't you bleed on me! Get alongside and kill someone.
Goodness, these guys are brutal. Continuing along, we enter a big maintenance room, and we see another mutant walking around through the southeastern door. Well, instead of following him, we can examine this shelf where we find scrap and minor foodstuffs, and then head through the western door.
Over!
Okay, so he must have walked in a big loop. That's good to know for later. We're in some sort of generator room. We find a door to the south and a very easy locked door to the west. This locked door reveals a jail cell. We find a woman on her knees with her hands tied up. The super mutants have bound the captive for transportation. The ropes are digging into her wrists. She's obviously suffering from their abuse. We can leave the captive to her fate or untie her.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I thought I was dead for sure. Here, I managed to hide these supplies before they tied me up. You take them. It's the best I can do to thank you.
Oh no, you'll need it more than I will.
You're right. It's dangerous out here. I have to go before more of them come.
With that, we gain karma. Oh, and she runs off and in the wrong direction. Oh no. Chasing after her, we can try to protect her before she gets killed by the mutants.
Game's over!
I lost her after we killed that brute. We can only hope that she survived. Centaur! After getting rid of a rad roach in our way, we can open a wide sliding door to the south. This looks like it leads to a sewer tunnel. That may be the way out, so I'm going to save that for later. Instead, we'll head through the eastern door. We see that it goes south or north. Heading up the stairs to the north, sure enough, this rounds a big pillar and brings us back to that one maintenance room with the 2 shelves. So it did go in a big loop. Heading back, we can instead go down into the south, but this leads us to another staircase to the east and path to the west. I can see that it's going to be easy to get turned around here. Heading up the stairs first, we find a teddy bear on the ground. We can snag that for Marie, but it's also more evidence that those bodies we found likely belong to children. Following it all the way up leads to another split in this hallway.
Found you!
2 hits, kid. 2 hits.
Come on! I thought backing down the stairs would have gotten me far enough away from that gas, but apparently not. Continuing forward, gosh, we have a lot of ways to go. We could go east. We could go south. We could go east again. Or we can turn west and go down some stairs. Let's turn west for now. The room immediately to the right is another generator room. Here we can loot some minor scrap, and we find a copy of Pugilism Illustrated on a northwestern shelf. There's an average locked door to the west, leading back out to a sewer. We see some ammunition canisters next to some toxic barrels to the north. To the west, we find a skeleton with a suitcase, but... oh, come on! Did you see that mine? I couldn't see that mine. They had it hidden. Talk about gimmicky. The suitcase was empty anyway, so not worth our trouble. We see that turning north leads to those wide sliding doors we opened previously. So we've just done a big loop. Heading back, we can loot a final ammunition box sitting on top of a toxic barrel next to an assault rifle. And instead of going back southeast, I want to see what's at the end of this sewer. We find a big door at the end. Heading through, we see stairs going up and a small nook of supplies to the right. Here we can loot a first aid box, and we see a big button. Well, it doesn't do anything outside. Oh, I got it. It opens this trap door at the top of the stairs. Trying it again. Yep, there it is. So let's leave that open for now, but before we go up there to explore, let's head back and turn into that eastern door. I bet it loops back to the stairway we just gained access to. Retracing our steps back up the stairs, we have all those hallways to explore. Let's go south for now. Next to some toxic barrels, we find 3 ammunition canisters with some Radaway 5.56 rounds and .32 caliber rounds. But that's a dead end. So turning around, we can go east down a hallway. This splits, continuing east or going north. If we go east, we find a staircase to the right going down to the south. At the end is an easy locked door, which acts as another cell. Here we find gore bags and skeletons and blood and another captive.
Oh my God! I thought I was dead! You saved me! They dropped this stuff. Why don't you take it? It's all I have.
I'll take that. Now get on out of here.
Here, thank you again. I'm gonna try to make it home, if it's still there.
And we get karma. She only gives us some dirty water, but we find some shotgun shells on the ground next to her. Thankfully, we've killed most of the mutants here, but I raced after her just in case. We find her cowering in a corner, but why? Oh!
I hope you don't.
That's why. Well, looks like we saved her just in the nick of time. Here we find a door to the Roosevelt Arts and Athletics Hall. The captive opens the door and passes on through. Well, we can only hope that she survives. Heading west, we see that we've pretty much explored everything. Well, this means that we can continue forward by following the captive through the door to the Arts and Athletics Hall. The mutants hear us open the door. They're already alerted to our presence. Climbing up some stairs and into a hallway, we can look up a staircase when... Thank God for sneak attack criticals. Instead of going upstairs, I want to finish exploring this hall first. There's a generator room to the right. We see crumbling statues piled in a corner, some darts on a shelf, a pre-war book on another, and some railway spikes. And somehow we get seen from a room on the other side of a hallway.
Now try and hide from this!
I'm good.
Not even gonna try to explain how he saw us. We see that he was in some sort of stage. Creeping forward, we find mannequins on the stage, fires burning off in the auditorium, and we get attacked from behind.
You're gonna...
One of these days, I'm going to accidentally turn Jericho into a big pile of ash. Well, he's dead now, and we're hidden, so heading back to the stage, we see a few super mutants walking around in the back of the auditorium. One down, where'd the other go?
No!
You are...
Behind me again! There's one more. One more.
Nice
Are you
try!
fucking kidding me? Let's tear you up.
Okay, you know what? That's my own fault. I should have expected that by now. But at last, they're all dead. We find a miniature town on this stage. Looks like it was part of their play. And on the ground next to some music stands, we find a sheet music book. This is useful when doing the quest Agatha's Song, which I covered in a video you can watch by clicking here. The auditorium is filled with trash and broken chairs and lockers. We can scale some stairs to the east, leading to a little loft area where we can loot some gore bags, and then we can head back down and scale some stairs to the west. Uh-oh, to get spotted by another mutant. We hear Enclave radio, but we don't know where it's coming from. There was nothing up on this platform. Heading back down and creeping through a southern door, we arrive at a lobby. Going through the western door, we can kill a rad roach. This must have been the hallway the mutants used to sneak behind us. Here we find an Etotronic and a Nuka-Cola machine. Before heading down this hallway, I want to finish exploring the lobby. We can head back, turn right to open a door to the ladies' restroom. Here we find some sunglasses on a hand dryer and a garden gnome in a toilet. There's some mentats on a nearby shelf. Back out to the lobby, we find some double doors out to the Capitol Wasteland. We can go behind the counter to loot another teddy bear for Marie and explore the boys' restroom to the east. This is empty, save for a stim pack on the ground, but we do get ambushed by another mutant.
Time to die!
Are you fucking kidding me?
Heading out and going through the final door to the east, we see stairs leading up. But before we go upstairs, I want to finish exploring this floor, retracing our steps and heading to the west. We can go north down the hallway to find a small wash-up room to the right. Here we find a bunch of blood packs right away and a stim pack in the sink. Continuing north through some double doors, we can turn east, which leads us back to the auditorium. So instead backing out, we'll continue northwest, which leads back out to that hallway where we found the back door to the stage. So this is how the super mutants snuck up on us earlier. Well, this leaves one way forward, to go through the eastern door up to the second floor. At the top of the stairs, we see that the hallway continues south and east, or we can go into the western room. Going into this western room first, we can loot some cabinets and desks. We see a door to the north that leads to the final loft overlooking the auditorium, and here we finally notice some furniture falling through some holes in the ceiling. There must be another floor above. Turning around and heading to the back of this room, sure enough, we find a staircase leading us up to the third floor to the west. Here we find a radroach gnawing on a corpse, another dead settler. Heading to the northern hallway, we can loot 2 Nuka-Cola machines. The doorway to the north leads to a supply room. And here we can finally turn off Enclave radio. There are 2 first aid boxes on the wall, one locked with an average lock. And on a desk, we find a copy of Tumblers Today and 2 ammo crates. On the wall next to this is an average locked wall safe. Inside we find a 10mm pistol, some caps and ammunition. This leads to a locker room to the east. Strange, I think, to have a locker room on a top floor like this. We can get rid of a radroach and start to loot the lockers. There's a door to the south, which leads back to that hallway. We could follow it east and down some stairs, which brings us back to that first room on the second level that led out to the balcony. Okay, so we've done a big circle. Heading back upstairs to the third floor, we can go back into this locker room to continue exploring. The hole in the floor makes exploring hard, but we do see a small ramp made from rubble that connects to the next locker room to the north. Here we can go through a western door where we find 3 boxes of shotgun shells and 2 boxes of .32 caliber rounds, as well as 2 gore bags, a first aid box to the west, and another easy locked wall-mounted safe. This room opens up through a doorway to the north to another hallway. Heading east down this hallway, we see that it connects to the other side of the locker room, where we can finish looting the lockers, and we complete exploring this floor by going down a staircase to the east. With that, we've finished exploring the Arts and Activities building. We could leave out the front door back out to the Capitol Wastes, but then we recall, back in the sewers, that one room with the switch that opened a hatch. We never discovered where that room led to. So heading back to the sewers and retracing our steps, we can head through the room and scale the steps. This small room leads to a staircase to the south, which brings us to a door to the Roosevelt Library. As soon as we enter, we've already made a lot of noise. Creeping up the steps ever so slowly, the super mutants give up. We can loot a gore bag on the ground, and we hear a mutant making noise in the room to the north. Sure enough, we see him patrolling a hallway with a minigun.
Game's over!
Hoo-wee. Looting this corpse, we see that he was the mini-boss of this dungeon. On his body, we find the Roosevelt Library key. We passed a bathroom a moment ago, so turning around, we can explore this bathroom, but we don't find much, just a blood pack in a toilet and a stealth boy on the ground. So heading back into the library lobby, we can be careful at first, but we quickly realize that we've killed all the enemies here. For a library, the bookshelves are pretty bare. I had hoped to walk away with some pre-war books, but I didn't find any in the library. We find a door back out to the Capital Wasteland to the west, and sure enough, we can use the key we found on that super mutant's corpse to unlock it. But before we do, we can loot a table to the north. Here we find an ammo box, a sawed-off shotgun, 2 boxes of shotgun shells, another stealth boy, and a Nuka-Cola Quantum. Quite a haul indeed. On the ground behind the desk are 2 more ammo boxes, one of which is locked with an easy lock, a first aid kit on the wall, and then a very easy locked wall safe behind the desk. We see a top floor from here. To access it, we can go through the northern doorway. We see another bathroom to the north, but there's not much here but a gore bag. Stepping out, we can head up some stairs to the south. This leads to a ruined room to the left and a balcony to the right. At the top of the balcony, we find another dead settler. And around the perimeter of this balcony are a bunch of bookshelves, but none of these have any books. There's nothing really up here. We see a room above us with machinery leaning over, about to fall, but this is just for decoration. There's no stairway up there. I even toggled the free cam to explore it, and there's no way to access it. And with that, we completely explore the library. We can head downstairs and exit through the western doors to the Capital Wasteland. One final thing of note is that this high school makes an appearance in Fallout New Vegas. On Eddie, we find a bumper sticker that says, "My child is an honor student at Roosevelt Academy." This makes a lot of sense because we learned from Lonesome Road that Eddie was sent to Navarro by the Enclave scientists at the Adams Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. Eddie then likely traveled through Roosevelt High School on his way to Navarro, whereupon some wastelander or scavenger with a sense of humor stuck this sticker that he likely found in these ruins on the chassis of Eddie. What a fun dungeon spanning 3 buildings connected by tunnels. A challenging encounter at younger levels, but man, even more so at higher levels. What are your thoughts on Roosevelt High School and the connection Obsidian made in Fallout New Vegas? And what'd you think about Dean Dewey? Which one of the dialogue options did you have access to in your game? Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the Fallout games. If you want to make sure you don't miss my next episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. I've got a brand new shirt in the shop, folks. Rubble Ramp. The apocalypse of 2077 destroyed all of the major cities in the United States, reducing their skyscrapers to rubble. But much of this rubble inexplicably piled itself up into very handy ramps we can use to access tough-to-reach locations filled with wonderful loot. Celebrate this fact with my new shirt, Rubble Ramp, which also appears on mugs, stickers, and I personally think it looks great on posters. You can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.